Alicia is going to take my prediction.
Okay. It's true. You know, statistically, it is Alicia's best matchup.
Yes.
He's actually under 50% for his other matchups, but I do know that he's about, I think, 54%. Yeah, he's 54% here in PvZ. Although against foreigners, he's 80%. So he's got a pretty good matchup win rate against foreigner Zergs. But IdrA, he's not exactly sometimes, you can't really qualify him against foreigner Zergs in general because, honestly, aside from Stefano and IdrA, I mean, I don't think there's that many. Yeah, he's an extreme. I mean, there's some pretty good Zergs in Europe, like Nurchio and Snoot and some other pretty good ones, but Alicia hasn't been exposed that much to foreigner Zergs.
I agree. But IdrA has a very predictable style. I think Alicia should know that. IdrA is also one of the more famous Zergs in the Korean scene, so I'm definitely sure Alicia knows his style. So we'll see what we're in store for. It looks like there is a gateway on top of the ramp. Again, just like we saw in that Hasselhoff's games, the similar type of thought process. It's very difficult to take a Forge Fast Expand. You can see a lot of room over here on the top. How do you actually position your buildings? So a lot of times, like 10 Roach Rushes, like we saw Leenock do in a lot of his matches, those are probably one of the strongest builds that kill Forge Fast Expansions on Shattered Temple. That's why we see the gateway on top.
And actually, let's introduce our players real quick.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even really introduced that.
Just go into strategy.
In the left-hand corner, we have Alicia from Team Slayers, the red Protoss under the alias Short Stuff. And we saw that in previous weeks, but that's how you confirm it is Alicia. This match is live as live can be. It's very early in the morning in Korea by gamer standard. But he's facing off against this green Zerg here. You know him as IdrA, also known as Greg Fields from Team Evil Geniuses. The green Zerg in the right-hand side of the map.
Ooh.
And what are we oohing about?
I'm oohing about that hatchery allowing to be placed. On Shattered Temple, it's like a no-brainer. You always stop that.
Yeah, it's
right?
a long
because
distance.
Where am I going to take my third? Now, as I said, you can see, oh, they have 2 armor. They put it back up. Interesting. But nevertheless, it's gonna...
Andre's mad, man. How mad are you right now?
I'm a little flustered right now.
But yeah, again, for those of you tuning in, maybe just now, Andre Gritorp actually changed the maps, and he changed the Destructible Rocks armor from 3 to 1, but apparently it's 2.
Well, okay, I changed it from 3 to 2 originally, and then they changed it from 3 to 1, and I was like, okay, I'm still content with that. But they changed it back to 2, which was the original plan. It still does the same thing. It actually allows Zerglings to kill the rocks 50% faster rather than 100% faster. So I looked
still,
at it.
how mad are you right now?
I'm not that mad.
All right.
I'm a pretty
That's
jolly
what he
person.
says. But
I'm a pretty jolly person. Right now.
yeah, sure. But we see Alicia's going for sentries initially. Now, 1 gate expand is generally picked on maps that you feel like you're gonna die if you forge fast expand. And Shattered Temple, I guess it could be considered one of those maps. The area that you have to defend your natural can be pretty difficult sometimes.
It cuts your ability to tech pretty drastically. Forge Fast Expansion does. If we think about Forge Fast Expansion, you're using cannons to defend. In this Gateway expansion, you use sentries to defend. Sentries are a lot of gas. So a lot of times, you know, if you just put light pressure on your opponent, it will bait a ton of sentries, or at least a couple. And from there, you really, really start to narrow the amount of builds that the Protoss can do. So IdrA isn't really a player that does that. He likes to just make drones. He's not as bad as Rhett or Sen. But he is one of those players that likes to play towards that end game stage and just take a third base and go from there. So we'll see how he actually goes about this and how Alicia reacts to this. I like the positioning of these gateways. I think they're very intelligent and just offers a smaller choke, allowing you to deal with Zerglings a lot easier.
Now, Alicia, some of his PvZ, the last time he's been seen, he was playing Boom Boom, and he did manage to beat him in the tournament. That was back in February, though, and I haven't really been able to keep up too much because Alicia hasn't been making that many waves in Korean tournaments. But IdrA, we've seen a lot of ZVP out of him. He went up against Hero in the EG Masters Cup where he did fall, even though it looked like he could have won still. He went up against Cruncher, obviously, in week 1 and did take the series, but dropped the game as well. So he looked pretty shaky, but still, when he was interviewed about the series and people asked him questions stuff, he still had pretty good logic behind it. It's just that sometimes I think he just get faked out too easily. Sometimes gives Protoss way too much room to breathe. And IdrA has been showing that he still can think levelly. It's just that I think sometimes he needs a little bit of help there because Protoss can put him on tilt easily.
I agree. Now, Ferdinand, I want to draw a little bit of attention to this hatchery. I actually think this hatchery is blocking the natural position where the hatchery should be.
Really? I thought it was supposed to be if you put it next to the hatchery that put it next to the rocks would replace the hatchery.
Side. I think the left side is okay, but this top, I don't know.
I think it's okay.
Okay, well, we'll go there.
Oh, thinking about being okay. Yeah, looks like Alicia's pushing in here with sentries initially. Gonna trap with a. Ooh, he's gonna use 3 force fields to trap 1 queen. Although spine calls are very good against the sentry zealot push.
Yes.
Alicia, what he wants to do is force this third to stop, but it's actually finished, so he wants to kill it. And IdrA has roaches out into the field. He's gonna try to see if he can stop it. Sentries are very valuable at this point, but IdrA is actually gonna run away, and he does escape through a small little hole. But still, can IdrA hold on to his third hatchery?
No matter what, this is a pretty good engagement for IdrA, actually. We're going to see if his micro is up to the task.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of Zealots and Sentries Sentries are terrible against roaches. But we're going to see a couple good... No, not good force fields. IdrA is playing this really nicely, actually. All the Zealots get cleared up. Now, he doesn't have any... Well, he needs more incoming roaches. This could be a little bit problematic right now.
Well, okay, so right now IdrA probably can't defend this third hatchery. Alicia moved out at the right time to pick it off, but IdrA still has enough to really defend. He's got 2 spine crawlers queued up back at his natural, and the good thing is that Alicia has been able to keep the sentry count high, but he has been using a lot of energy. He actually doesn't have that many force fields compared to what it looks like.
And it's kind of unfortunate. IdrA, he's not looking too good here. Now the force fields can be placed right at the ramp, cutting a lot of the production of IdrA. Now there's a good surround here, killing off a lot of these sentries. Yeah,
there's not a lot of sentry energy. I think IdrA realizes that he looks and he sees no more force fields left, and that's got to be good news, especially because the spine call is about to finish. IdrA is going to try to see if he can hold here, and pulling the drones. The stalkers are left alone against roaches and queens. IdrA trying to pull back, not lose too many workers. He still has a pretty good advantage. Sturgeons are now coming in as well, and with no force fields left on creep, IdrA looks like he should be able to hold this. And IdrA does manage to get a pretty convincing supply lead at this point, as Alicia doesn't have any more aggressive options.
This is actually pretty good for IdrA. Oh my gosh. Now he does lose the third. I don't think it's like a super huge advantage, but the amount of sentries that have been removed from the field is staggering. It's just like so many. Yeah. So, you know, with that, it really cuts the abilities of Alicia. And we're going to see income tab. Let's check it out. 45 to 42. Pretty much the same. Let's go ahead and look at the tech. I don't see a lair down for IdrA just yet, unfortunate for him. But the more important thing is they've traded. They're even at this point. The big thing, the roaches, they're out in the field. Look at how fast they take out the Chilter rocks. He's able to take out both these pretty fast. His third and fourth is very accessible now.
Yeah, and I think a couple things really happened there that was really good for IdrA. The first is that his creep spread was really good. He sneaked in creep tumors during that battle, which is really clever. Cool. And he was setting up, you know, in case, you know, for some reason, if Alicia ever get pushed back, he'd be able to chase him down with slow roaches. That was good. Also, IdrA managed to set up a macro hatchery above his ramp, just outside his natural, so he's gonna able to still pump out lots of larvae and recover easy from this as long as he keeps his macro up, which is exactly what IdrA's good at. So Alicia, I think right now he's gonna have to search for more options at this point. Is he gonna try to gear up for a 2-base timing? If it is, it's gonna be really weak because he invested a lot of gas into sentries. His upgrades are terrible. He doesn't even have +1. And you can see he's getting his forge finishing up right now. So I feel right now things are comfortable for IdrA. Yes. And he just has to hold on to the lead.
Yes, he does. Okay, so a lot of people tuned out of the IdrA versus Cruncher game 1, saying IdrA, he has that 100% won. IdrA, don't do the same mistakes. I know instead of the game, Artosis was making fun of him. It was the funniest thing in the world. But IdrA, yes, he is notorious for just letting things get a little bit out of hand, and it's unfortunate to have that reputation, but he's doing everything right, taking down the rocks back here. This is another access point for your opponent to get inside the base, so taking down these rocks is pretty instrumental. It forces them to split a lot more units all over the place, and then enables either pushes or just the threat of pushes, which is very important.
I like this. IdrA's going to send his roaches to potentially take out the third. Now, denying the third has been a pretty big thing in the state of PvZ, the tournament metagame, because, again, that 6 gases allows you to get that, just a starter death ball, you know, like a starter pack. And then if you want to move on to Deluxe, you need to get 4th base, especially a 4th base that has an abundance of minerals. You don't want to go actually to this one right outside your natural because it only's got 6 patches. And IdrA's going to try to see if he can bust in here forcibly. And actually, Alicia's out of position.
Yep.
IdrA should go in. Kind of, but now he's going to miss this opportunity. So no choice in the matter, and IdrA realizing that he probably can't move up now.
Now, what's really cool about this is IdrA has the ability to go around into the natural, and his opponent actually doesn't know. This observer should be positioned over here.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about that.
To check out for these separate pushes. You can see that, oh wow, there's a lot of Immortals pumping out here. It's a total of 3 Immortals out in the field, a 4th one coming on out.
Yeah, and as Zoe pointed out, 3 Immortals is what you really need to hold off if you do good force fields, but the idea, again, is this Alicia doesn't have that many sentries compared to what he should have. It just kind of try to go for 2-prong aggression, or will he? He's gearing up a lot of Zerglings from the back. Oh, and baiting force fields out. Very, very nice job here.
I think that's what he wanted to do. He is taking up to Hive at this point, so he's actually looking to go into that Greater Spire type of play, and I don't think Alicia actually has any indication that that's happening. Not only that, he's taking his bottom right base. The question is, how can he trade against his opponent who's going so immortal heavy and IdrA has roaches? That's the biggest concern. I want to get to Broodlords, obviously. That's like the #1 thing I want to get to. But a lot of times these pushes, the 2-base, 3-base pushes, are able to carry so much momentum that, you know, even with the roaches, even with that army advantage, I can't trade efficiently so that I have the time to get those roaches.
Oh, he wants more force fields out of those sentries. You can tell he's just picking off slowly. And IdrA trying to see if he can do it, and he does, gets it. Alicia has to be really cautious with how he spends his energy now. Infestors are on the way.
So that's one of the solutions. Getting Infestors allows your opponent's army to be out of position.
Yeah.
And then
not Hydras.
Exactly. Not Hydra. Well said, Frank.
Well, I mean, you'll be the first to tell you that, like, he's told, oh man, Hydras are supposed to be good against Blink Stalkers and Immortals. But yeah, you see Colossus. This is the tech switch of choice here, which is really logical, but at the same time, IdrA getting a 2nd Spire and his Greater Spire, so he's going to be able to get those upgrades very, very well. And IdrA's already cleanly off 4th base on 81 drones, so he's a very, very comfortable spot. And he's already setting up Spine Callers in preparation for inevitable push.
Okay, we'll see what happens from here. 160 supply for our Protoss hero over here, Alicia. He's getting ready with his first Colossus. Thermal Lance just about halfway finished, so he can Chrono Boost out an additional Colossus from this and do a 2-base Colossus timing. I think he is just trying to get a little bit of space so he can take this 4th base over here, more importantly the 7th and 8th gas, which Rotterdam talked about so eloquently yesterday, which enables you to get all those power units at the same time, rather. Power units and establish a lot of control. You can see Roaches poking in here. This is not going to bode well for these Roaches, though. They're walking into a brick wall of Immortals, Blink Stalkers, and Colossus. Oh no,
he's going to rush to Colossus. Oh, Alicia wasn't really paying attention there. He just thought that you can trap the units in an attack move. And IdrA, I mean, he didn't want to trade that many Roaches, but in the end, he needs some supply room to make Corruptors. At one point, he only had 1 Corruptor.
And look at the supply swing, 143 to 183. Now, Corruptors are just being made. I think probably a more efficient way to do this is just kill your own units, because he just allowed his opponent to get this big timing. And if Alicia actually goes and exercises this, which I think he is, he was just waiting for Thermal Lance, you know, there is a potential for IdrA to die straight up here. Now, he does have Infestors. Hugh, that is
and creep spread.
And look at this. The Zergling counter.
Oh,
so
very,
important.
very nice.
This buys him a little bit more time.
A lot of time, actually. He's going to, he even forces the Stalkers to blink back, another reduction of mobility just for a few seconds to have those Broodlords finish. Now, one thing to consider is that +3 will finish for Alicia, so he might have that in the upcoming battle if he chooses to engage a little bit later, but he's also on creep. IdrA has that advantage, and he wants to engage by the Spine Crawler wall, and Alicia might force himself in a little bit awkward position. The Infestors are getting in position, and he does land a fungal on the Colossus, making sure that the sentries can't even protect it. You can see Alicia has full energy sentries that are landed by these fungals, putting up force fields that are only going to help.
And you've seen how successful this has been with the mana versus TLO game. That was a perfect example of Spine Crawlers and Broodlords tearing apart a Protoss army that has no mothership with good Vortex. And that's exactly what we see here. Where is the Vortex? Where is the mothership? 10 million years away, and it's because the 4th base has been established so late for Alicia.
He started the Stargate just now.
Yeah, IdrA is just playing phenomenal. All he has to do from here is maintain his advantage. He does that by building additional Spine Crawlers, getting his units, replacing the Zerglings with more Broodlords, and then after that, slow creeping up. Make a new foundation point with a lot of Spine Crawlers, and then you can just start tearing apart your opponent and really focus on that 5th and 6th base in the 12 o'clock and the 1 o'clock positions.
IdrA is taking over the map, the entire half of his map. As you can see, 6 o'clock position is currently almost occupied. You see a Warp Prism and Gravitic Drive being researched for Alicia, getting that late game Warp Prism, and you can see he's gearing up also to eventually get the Mothership. But IdrA has been pretty much doing whatever he wanted to. That attack was completely failed, and IdrA, he only gets stronger from this point. I have bad news for Alicia. His +3 doesn't go to a +4, and his Broodlords are going to be more resilient to Stalker Blinks and all these kinds of different attempts. And so Alicia eventually is going to run out of time, especially because his composition isn't going to allow for a direct confrontation.
The one thing that IdrA, though, has a problem with is exercising his advantage. He has a consistent problem of exercising it. Now let's go ahead and look at the units tab. 13 Broodlords. It's not an excessive amount. It's not enough to just say, okay, let me go attack, move, and win. But he wants to start taking more position. That's really important.
Yeah, an attempt to drop the Warp Prism, but more specifically, Alicia saw the Greater Spire. Sorry, I was thinking for the words. The Greater Spire isn't there. So he's going to have to eventually find it and try to see if he can snipe it. But that's why IdrA, his placement is so clever. It's actually in the middle of the heart of the Zerg bases. So Alicia is going to have to do a lot to get to that Greater Spire. And I love the placement of that. Very key for IdrA, especially into the 25 minutes in this game.
I would like him to spread out his Greater Spires. I think there's a very famous Zerg player that actually does that all the time. Builds multiple
Lenok does it.
Yes, it is. But I would love him to do that. Unfortunately, he's not. But another interception of these Zealots.
Very nice.
Cleaned up. It looks like IdrA is just on top of everything.
Yeah, and upgrades are finishing, and he's able to catch everything. His mini maps under close monitoring. The High Templars now pose an interesting thing because, again, we've been seeing Korean Protosses actually keep them in Warp Prisms, because if the Festers catch a fungal on the Warp Prism, you can just drop the High Templars immediately and feed it back within range. And so, you know, keeping them safe is really key. But if IdrA catches this Warp Prism, that's a very big setback for Alicia.
He's going over to the bottom position. The Spore Crawler will finish in time and just run that unit away. Oh, I like this integration of the High Templars actually with the drops. That's actually pretty clever. But he has to get the heck out of there. Hightail and run, because those 2 Corruptors are posing a very, very tough threat. Still, the Spine Crawler goes down, and the Zealots will be cleaned up thereafter with those Zerglings incoming.
And this is like the best case scenario for IdrA. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He catches the Warp Prism, and Alicia forced to drop it and feedback immediately. God. Gets 2, but he could have gotten way more if he was prepared for that. And the Warp Prism barely managed to escape. That's exactly what we're talking about. IdrA advancing forward. His Spine Crawler wall is looking super intimidating. Look at that. That is easily 15 Spine Crawlers advancing forward, and you can't really take that on with a mainly Stalker-based army. 2 Archons. Where is the Mothership? He's had so much time to get it up. He started at 21 minutes in the game, and he still doesn't have it.
I can't believe how long this Mothership has taken. Yeah. I mean, it's staggering. So this Archon toilet won't be nearly as effective, and I think we can say that it's all because of the initial, 4th base being so long.
Yeah, being stalled for so long.
Exactly. Or I should say the relative advantage that IdrA had as well. That helped out quite a bit with him being able to establish 4 base very quickly. 8 gas allows you to tech up to that high tech pretty efficiently, and from there he's just good to go. Now this 12 o'clock base is under siege. In the meantime, it looks like
he sees the Mothership too. IdrA also has Neural Parasite. He's going to try to see if he can land them fungals for now onto the Stalker, chipping away at that Protoss ball, and going to pressure Alicia to make a bad decision. The Stalker's blink forward, but doesn't even pick off a Broodlord, as upgrades are +3/+3 for the Zerglings, or whatever, melee. Does finish +3/+3 on the way for flyer attacks and carapace. IdrA catching up to Protoss in that regard. Alicia desperately sending out a War Prism to the bottom half of the map, but IdrA's pretty much been very, very good in his defense.
Now, one thing, you don't want to overdo it with your Broodlord count. Make sure you have some units that are mobile to get around here until you have Spine Crawlers established all around the field. But you can see the Zerglings. Wow, the Zerglings are surprisingly good at cleaning all this up. A good effort. But here we go, the big blink on top of all these Broodlords.
Oh, he tried to catch the units. The Infestors. Their Infestors are in the middle of the map. IdrA doesn't actually have them, but the Spine Crawlers are enough to at least push the army towards the north to pick off a couple of those Broodlords. And the Vortex, now IdrA has to be really cautious about how he does it. He wants to also fungal to maybe prevent the units from going in. He catches the Mothership on a Neuroparasite, so he's going to try to see if he can protect the Broodlords. He's fungling as fast as he can, and Alicia, his Vortex is pretty much ineffective, sending in the Archons, and IdrA splitting his Broodlords as fast as he can. But, oh man, how many units does Alicia have left? IdrA can remax easily, and looks like Alicia finishing up the Vortex. And at the end of the battle, what has happened, Andre?
Well, it looks like the units lost tab is showing very, very equal counts. But here's another attack going on in the bottom middle position. These Zealots are trying to do a lot of damage. Zerglings will swing in over here. There's a ton more Zealots over here. Oh, the War Prism finally gets kicked out. And it looks like the Zealots will be cleaned up for the most part, but he needs to get reinforcements down there ASAP. There are the Infestors. Oh, he doesn't want to lose them, but nice fungal rail to disallow that from happening.
Yeah, now IdrA has to be really cautious with his Infestors. Okay, he almost
okay.
almost got swung on, but the idea is he also has low energy. That's what I meant to say about him being careful. He needs a little bit more time, because Infestors without energy is literally sitting supply. It just doesn't add anything. So IdrA has, how many Broodlords does he have now? He's got 15 with 3 more on the way, and IdrA, he's starting to advance forward. He has to also keep in mind the Mothership did manage to use one Vortex, didn't have that much energy left. So can IdrA pick a time and really advance on Protoss when he's pretty vulnerable?
IdrA wasn't nearly as effective, I think, with that last battle as he wanted to be. Not only that, but 12 o'clock and the 1 o'clock. The 1 o'clock just about to establish, but the 12 o'clock has been up for quite a long time. So that's a little bit of a problem. He wants to remove those from the field. Dark Templars now in the base over here in the bottom middle position. They get fungled to death. But now the Broodlords, oh my god, they're stacked up. No Infestor help and no Spine Crawlers as well. This is not good. IdrA can be in a lot of trouble here. This is a big timing. And Vortex is up, so we're going to see a big engagement.
Oh, no.
Can IdrA manage this?
IdRA's trying to kite with his Broodlords and try to see if he can bait the army into a bunch of fungals. The Infestors arrive to the battle. Can they intercept the Mothership before it gets a Vortex off? And the answer is no! IdrA does get Vortex, and he's sending a bunch of Infestors as well into it. And we see Alicia advancing forward, realizing he has the dominant position. The Queens go down without any transfuses of any kind. The Broodlords are about to pop out. And at the end of the day, looks like IdrA will get caught by the Vortex and lose a huge amount of his Broodlords.
Oh my
and
God.
Alicia, he is trading a lot of his supply for this attack, and the Spine Crawlers haven't been involved whatsoever. You're absolutely right, Greetorp. IdrA lost way too much, and he was out of position.
Oh god, and the Colossus still stand. That's one of the #1 priorities that you have to target down. Now it looks like IdrA will be able to, he might be able to hold here. The Colossus is still doing an amazing amount of damage, and he just warps in additional Stalkers. Normally this is a bad decision, but he's making it work.
Yeah, I mean, Alicia is blinking forward, taking a huge amount of damage from these Spine Crawlers. Look at the Spine Crawlers go to work, and Alicia can't wait that much longer.
Yeah.
And you see that IdrA, he's starting to run low on resources, though. He doesn't actually have that many minerals, despite the fact that he has a huge gas bank. Yeah. And Alicia's looking really good in terms of this remax. Oh my goodness.
This does not bode well. See, normally you put all of your gas into Archons. That's like the #1 thing. But IdrA, he's going to GG out of here.
GG.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Slayers Alicia takes game #1 on Shattered Temple.
A very surprising finish.
Yeah.
With IdrA having such a massive lead, he wasn't able to close the deal. We talked about it, Spine Crawlers underneath. His Broodlords are a lot of times out of position. I shouldn't say out of position. It was just slightly out of position, but let's go ahead and look at this. It's going to be actually the big battle that really determined everything.
Yeah, so he lashed onto the mothership, but it was a little bit too late, and you can see that the Broodlords were there fighting without the Infestors, and that's something you don't want to do. Just, you know, as general ZVPs, trying to split his Archons, and then obviously it's a great attempt, but IdrA just could not hold up to the Archons.
One way to mitigate the damage a little bit is to actually neuroparasite the Archons once they emerge. Then your Broodlords sort of spread out naturally with the hold position. So he could have done that and exercised that, but I think the Broodlord just took way too much damage in that fight. And unfortunately, he just was not able to keep on the pressure. Another thing is I love Alicia's constant harass in that 6 o'clock position. It was amazing.
That was good.
But overall, I felt like IdrA he played it better than his opponent. It's just he did these critical mistakes at that end game, wasn't able to supplement with those spine crawlers. And if you do that, I mean, I think it would have been a much different game with those spine crawlers just chucking away, headbutting all of those units. Oh, one last thing. Sorry, before we go into a break. One last thing. He needs a little bit more Corruptors to remove the Colossus, because the Colossus are empowering, removing the Colossus empowers the Broodlords. The Broodlings obviously do stuff. They mess up pathing, etc. They do a lot more damage. So if he did that, I think it would have been a lot different as well. Fortunately, we didn't see that. Now we can go to a break.
Thank you so much to the sponsor of that match, Epson, for providing the brilliant projectors that you can see. Go to Epson.com for more information. Guys, we'll find out if IdrA can come back in the series or Alicia shut him out for the night and for the week. Find out after this break.